Previously, we discussed demand and its impact on price in other areas of the market, and more specifically, demand shifters, elasticity of demand, and how we can make a demand curve from a budget line. Another factor determining price is supply, which we will discuss today and relate back
A supply
to
curve is a graphical representation of a supply schedule showing the relationship between price and quantity supplied during a particular period, all other things unchanged. In addition, a change in quantity supplied results from when a change in price causes a movement along the supply curve. Like when price increases, the quantity supplied will increase and vice versa.
A change in supply is caused by a change in variables, resulting in a shift. Now, there are 6 supply shifter categories. The first we will talk about is the number of sellers in a market. Now, let's say that a new carrot firm enters into the market. This would increase the supply of carrots at any given price, resulting in a shift of the supply curve to the right. The next category is technology. Let's say a new machine was invented in which speeds up the process of harvesting carrots from the ground. This new technology would increase the supply of carrots, resulting in a shift of the supply curve to the right. The third category is the cost of inputs. So, the minimum wage price in the U.S. increases. Because labor is an input that goes into the production of carrots, there would be a decrease in the supply of carrots due to an increase in an input price. This would result in a shift of the supply curve to the left.
The next category is the expectations of sellers. For example, a recent study confirms that carrots do in fact improve a human's eyesight. As a result, sellers expect that consumers will buy more carrots, and moreover, the supply curve will shift to the right. The fifth category is natural events. Let's say a tornado destroys a carrot field. This causes a decrease in the supply of carrots, resulting in the supply curve shifting to the left. The next category is return from alternative activities. Let's say a lack of water makes it more costly to produce carrots versus broccoli, which require less water. It is more profitable to grow broccoli, lowering the supply of carrots, resulting in the supply curve shifting to the left.
Time for a concept test. First question. An event that reduces the quantity supplied at each price shifts the supply curve to the left. So true or false? An increase in production costs and excessive rain that reduces the yields from a harvest of crops are examples of events that might reduce supply. The answer is true. An increase in production costs and rain that reduces the yields of a harvest will result in an increase of prices and therefore less of a desire for consumers to purchase the good. Question 2. A variable that can change the quantity of a good or service supplied at each price is called what? A supply schedule, a change in supply, a supply shifter, or a good? The answer is C. It is very self-explanatory. The definition of a supply shifter is any variable that can change the quantity of a good or service supplied at each price. Question 3. Which of the following is not a supply shifter? Consumer preferences, technology, natural events, or seller expectations? The answer is A, which is also a very self-explanatory answer. There are 5 distinct demand shifters and 6 distinct supply shifters. Consumer preferences, as listed above, is the answer because it is a demand shifter and not a supply shifter.
Now, we want to relate the shifts of demand to the shifts in supply to find the new equilibrium price and quantity. In the first graph, let's say demand shifts left due to a decrease in consumers' income and supply shifts left due to a decrease in the number of sellers in the market. The equilibrium price would remain the same, but equilibrium quantity would decrease. In the second graph, now, let's say we have the same demand shift occurring again, but this time the supply curve shifts right due to a betterment in technology for production of cars. The equilibrium quantity in this case stays the same, and the equilibrium price will decrease.
Time for a concept test. Let's say in the market for corn, the demand curve shifts to the right due to an increase in consumers' income, and the supply curve shifts to the left due to a tornado decreasing the amount of corn that will be supplied. What will happen to the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity? How about if the supply curve shifted to the left due to an increase in the number of sellers in the market? For when the demand shifts right and supply shifts left, the equilibrium quantity will remain the same and the equilibrium price will increase. But for when the supply curve shifts right, this time the equilibrium price will remain the same and the equilibrium quantity will increase.
Let's say the government imposes a price ceiling for the highest price produce can be sold. On a graphical representation, we would see that the price ceiling level is graphed below the equilibrium point. The result of this price ceiling is there will be a shortage of the quantity supplied compared to the quantity demanded. Now let's say the government imposes a new price which will be graphed above the equilibrium point, and it is the lowest price produce can be sold for. This is called the price floor, which results in a surplus of quantity supplied versus the quantity demanded.
Time for the next concept question. If the government controls the price of rent in a certain community area by enforcing the highest price a landlord can charge, is a price floor or price ceiling being implemented? What will be the outcome of this government interference? The answer is that a price ceiling is being implemented because a maximum allowable price has been set. This government interference would create a shortage of apartments because the price has been set below the natural equilibrium price of the market.